Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the Community Foundation of the Verdugos for our presentation today called Shape Your Future: Why the 2020 Census is Important. Today we have Edna Korinsky, Chief Executive Officer of the Community Foundation of the Verdugos. She will be introducing our speakers, John Magurian from the United States Census Bureau and Albert Hernandez, Executive Director of the Family Promise of the Verdugos. This presentation will be about 30 minutes long, followed by 10 minutes of question-answer. Edna, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Well, great. Thank you so much, Faith. I want to thank everyone for taking a little bit of time from their day today to be here with us. Since 1956, the Community Foundation of the Verdugos has been among one of the oldest nonprofits in the greater Glendale, Burbank, and Foothill areas, and I guess what we also call the Verdugo region. In addition to being a place where donors can be a part of philanthropic leadership, the foundation enjoys community work leading to a higher quality of life for all. So we certainly hope that you will find this short webinar today on the 2020 census to be helpful. And now here's John to tell us more about the importance of why we need to be counted.
Okay, hello everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody could hear me okay. So I'm just going to be doing a basic, a little bit of a slideshow about the, an overview of the 2020 census. So, as you know, right now, the 2020 census is going on right now. They're doing a count, a population count of the whole of all the United States. So, we only do this every 10 years. Last one was done in 2010. So I'm going to go on here in the first slide. The main reason why we do the census is that it's in our Constitution. In Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution, it actually says that the actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years at the first meeting of the Congress, and with every 10 years. So we do a census every 10 years. The first one was done in 1790 with our first president of the United States, George Washington. And, it's just a basic count. And, I'll be explaining about, besides being in the U.S. Constitution, of course, that's the most important reason why we do it, because it's law, but we have other reasons, and I'll get into that. We can go to the next slide. The importance of the census. It determines the federal funding for our counties, cities, towns, and local communities. So I'm going to say that's one of the biggest reasons why people should be doing their census questionnaire. If you want to see federal funding to come into your communities for schools, for senior citizens' homes, for roads, for construction projects, to make your community better, you need to do the census. Money is being distributed to your counties, to the cities. It's based on the population. They want to know how many people there are in the area, but more important, they also need to know demographics. They need to know the whole reason why they ask you for your birth date, because they want to know your age. They want to know how many senior citizens there are, but also how many kids there are, because federal funding for schools, also federal funding for senior citizens' homes. They're also going to ask you about ethnicity questions. Of course, are you Hispanic, Latino? Are you, Asian, Korean? Also, that's also federal funding. They want to know how much federal funding needs to go to the Latino community for a Latino charter school, or to the Korean community, or to whatever other communities they are. So that's I'm going to say the main reason why people should be doing their census. Of course, the second reason why is that it determines the number of congressional seats in a state. Perfect example is that based on the 2000 census here in the state of California, it was determined that we would have 51 congressional districts. Based on the 2010 census, because we had a population increase, it got up to 55 congressional districts. We got 2 more congressional seats based on the population. So, of course, that congressional seats allocates into the electoral college system also. So now we have 55 electoral college votes instead of 53. So this is another reason why it determines our congressional seats and our power to elect the president about how many electoral college votes we're going to be determining for the state. And it also determines the redistricting for each state, how they're going to determine the county lines, the city lines. It's all based on population. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit over about confidentiality. Just to let you know that when you fill out the forms of the census, it's very basic. It only takes about 5 minutes. The only personal kind of question they're going to ask is, of course, your birth date, but they don't ask for your social security number or anything. But to let you know that your answers are protected by Title 13 of the US Code. That's, your forms are completely confidential. We read them, we turn them into numbers as Census Bureau employees. And the only thing that goes to the President of the United States desks are numbers. He does not see your birth dates, he doesn't see your ages, he doesn't see anything else. That's all it is, just numbers. And we are sworn a lifetime oath to, to not give out that information to anybody. Not even if another federal agency comes and asks us for, information about so-and-so because we're collecting it, we're not allowed to. And if we do it, we get up to 5 years imprisonment or a fine of $250,000. So, I'm going to go a little bit about the key dates for responses. As you already know, this is kind of like old information, but I'm going to tell you how things kind of changed because of COVID-19. That, of course, in March, we sent out the invitation letters, and then, reminder letters were sent out in mid-March. And then April 1st was Census Day. Now, they've already given out reminder letters and things like that in middle of April, but because of COVID-19, it was decided now that they extended the deadline date to complete the census questionnaire by October 31st. Now, in mid-August, starting on August the 6th, there's going to be a non-response follow-up where they're going to actually send Census Bureau workers to people's houses who have not completed their census questionnaire, give a little knock on the door, and just ask them, would you like to do the census right now with us? So that's what's going to be happening. And, it's your prerogative to whether you want to do it with them or not. Like I said, the deadline has been extended to October 31st. There's still a lot of time. I urge the community to fill it out. Okay, and this is a little bit of key collection dates. I'm not going to go too much into it because a lot of this stuff has already happened, the address canvassing and everything else. And as I explained, April 1st was Census Day. In April of 2020 was when they were going to have the, non-response follow-ups. But as I said, it's going to start on August the 6th instead. So, just be aware that you probably might get a knock on the door. And, to be sure that they are Census Bureau employees, you do have that right to ask, them to show them their, their badge and things of that nature. So, that these are not intruders. And, we did have problems with fraud. So the minute anyone asks anyone about your immigration status, or they want to ask a social security number, that is fraud. Okay, please stop the questionnaire right now if they ask any of those questions, and you are allowed, please report it to the Census Bureau right away so we can make note of that what happened there and stuff, so we can know about that. So the only question that they're going to ask is about your address, your birth date. That's the only personal, and how many people live there, and they want their names and their birth dates, and that's it. No social security number, no immigration status, nothing of that nature. If they do ask that, it is fraud. And I'm not going to go too much about address canvassing. We've done that already. They have your addresses. We can go to the next slide. Okay, now I'm going to go a little bit about the hard-to-count areas. There is a concerted effort right now in Los Angeles for the hard-to-count areas, and we're trying to incorporate a lot of our partners that we've recruited, nonprofits, community organizations, to help us out with that. Currently, the Hollywood area is considered a hard-to-count area. It's still a low response rate. A lot of people haven't done their census questionnaire. Same with the Valley area. But since I'm addressing the community foundation of the Verdugos right now, I'll name some of the neighborhoods right now. Eagle Rock currently has a low response rate. We're trying to push for outreach for people to know about the census and fill it out. Pasadena is doing fairly well right now. The Altadena area right now also is considered hard to count, low response rate. A lot of people haven't been filling them out. So, I'm hoping with your efforts, we can work together, we can get the word out, we can, get the word out to the Altadena, Eagle Rock areas to fill out their census questionnaire. Okay. And this is our ROAM, this is our response out area mapper. And I was explaining about the low response areas. The areas marked in dark blue right there are the low response areas currently. So as I said, Hollywood is, and areas of Los Angeles are right now. I'll say currently like the South Central East LA area is very low response. We want to get the word out, people to fill it out. Same with the Boyle Heights area. And as I mentioned before, in our areas of Eagle Rock and Altadena, we're having a concerted effort to get the word out, to encourage the community members to fill out their census questionnaire. Okay, and this is about supporting linguistically diverse populations. We have availability in Spanish, where you can use a phone number, call in, where it's going to be translated for you to fill it out. If people don't have computers, there is an option to do it by paper. And as I was saying, that there's the internet options and census questionnaire assistance will be available in 12 non-English languages. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, and yeah, like I said, there is help for people who's where English is not their first language. So we can go to the next one. Okay, I'm not going to go too much into this complete count committees. They've already been formed right now. So if you want to know complete count committees, like we have a Pasadena complete count committee, a Glendale complete count committee. They're mainly like the city managers, the mayors. They're getting kind of involved with for outreach in their cities, in their local districts. So that's about it. I'm not going to go too much into that. And, as I said, complete count committees, they're experts in the following areas, government, education, media, community organizations. Like I said, the complete count committees, like I said, there were mayors and, when it comes to education, they're the superintendents of the schools of LAUSD or the Glendale Unified School District or Pasadena Unified School Districts, and, the main pastors of the churches. And yeah, I don't want to go too much into the forming of CCCs, of the complete count committees. As I explained before, they are all inclusive. They, include all racial, ethnic, cultural, and geographic considerations. And, they serve as liaisons. They're going to help the community knowing about the census, what to expect. And as I said before, they're, superintendents, mayors, government officials who are helping us out with that. Okay, and in forming of the complete count committees, as I said, it's they're mayors, the head of the public school systems, council members. We've already have established them out, and they're working very hard with getting the word out. Despite with what's going on with COVID-19, they're doing virtual events and big time emails to get it out to the community, and planning your work and working your plan. It's very basic. It's how the complete count committees are doing outreach. They've named themselves either the Glendale Complete Count Committee, Pasadena, Altadena Complete Count Committee, and it's just for outreach. Getting their community involved. We're ready for the next slide. And our timeline for it. We already had our education phase. That was from 2018 to 2019. And we are now currently in our motivation phase. And because of COVID-19, we're still in that motivation phase. By August, like I said, on August 6th, when we start our non-response follow-ups, where the people are going to be coming out, that's going to be what we call our reminder phase. And it's going to go from August to end of October, October 31st. And we're going to start, we're going to start our thank you phase in July, but that's been postponed till September timeframe. And as I said, local governments and community leaders are, participating in all this right now. And as I explained to you before about hard to count areas, one of the main reasons, I'm doing this presentation is because, of course, Eagle Rock and Altadena is included with your, community foundation of the Verdugos, and we want to do extreme amount of outreach to encourage the community of Eagle Rock and Altadena to fill out their census questionnaire. And our next steps, of course, as I explained, we're generating our communities for the 2020 census, what we're doing now, mobilizing our complete count committees. And since we're in COVID-19 right now, the best way for outreach, of course, is through, virtual events and, just doing big time email blasts. And, that's about it. Just to let you know that this is my last day at the job. And my fellow partnership specialist, Dylan Mack, will be taking over. And that's his contact information. If anyone has any questions or like to further up, he's going to be taking over the partnership with the Community Foundation of the Verdugos. He's going to be your point of contact from here on out. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, John. I will have Julie here. We're going to be presenting, handing our talk off now to Albert Hernandez.
Hi, yes, I'm going to hand over to Albert Hernandez, who is the Executive Director of the Family Promise of the Verdugos. And he's going to tell us about why the census is important to nonprofits.
Thanks, Julie. I appreciate that introduction. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. As Julie said, my name is Albert Hernandez, and I serve as the Executive Director here at Family Promise of the Verdugos. We are a homeless service agency that's assisting homeless families with children with an array of services. We offer temporary shelter, transitional housing, rental assistance, case management, job development skills. We even make sure that that children are enrolled in school, and ultimately the goal of the organization is to help homeless families attain housing and be self-sufficient within 90 days of joining our program. I really want to take a second to thank Edna Korinsky for asking me to speak just a couple minutes regarding the census impact on nonprofit agencies. And as I was listening to John, well, John, first of all, we're sorry to see you go, but thank you for all your efforts, because I recall you calling our organization back in February or March and sharing the passion that you shared today about the census. So thank you so much for your service. And I'll be very honest, I am no census expert. However, I can tell you from the perspective of a local nonprofit organization that we know the importance of having our community members complete the U.S. Census. In fact, many nonprofits in the Verdugo region have been posting the U.S. Census flyers on our bulletin boards, on social media, and through our electronic newsletters as well. And we've done this not just to support our local census field offices, but we've done it primarily to get a good accounting or to support getting a good accounting for the population in our communities. The population of our communities do impact the funding streams from government to our local municipalities. I recently read that this year alone, the U.S. Census will affect the distribution of up to $1.5 trillion of federal funding. Funding that supports several programs, as John mentioned, anywhere between Medicaid, transportation, SNAP services, Section 8 housing vouchers, general relief aid like TANF, and even funding for Title I grants to local educational agencies. This U.S. Census and its accuracy is a large factor for funding a lot of these programs that I've mentioned, and even more, which I'll get into in a minute or two. I'll give a couple examples on how Family Promise and even other social agencies like the Kids Community Dental Clinic and Ascensia and the Glendale YWCA, just an example on how we're impacted directly, particularly here at Family Promise, and most importantly, it's an example that I'm going to share that's regarding homeless services. So as a homeless service provider that helps homeless families reach their goals, we apply for funding that the Department of Housing and Urban Development offers through grants, also known as HUD. We just celebrated our 10 years anniversary a couple weeks ago, and for the past 10 years, we've applied for what is known as the Community Development Block Grant, and this is a grant and program that you'll see in many communities throughout the United States. It's also known as CDBG, and it funds quite a bit of activities that support extremely to low-income households. And the CDBG funds allocation is based on unique formulas used that, to estimate the need, and it's based off of the population. It's based off of the number of people in poverty in your community. It's also based off of overcrowding housing units, as John mentioned a few minutes ago. Here at Family Promise, we've applied for funds through various sources, not just CDBG, but all of them to help us serve our families much better. This kind of grant that I just mentioned, CDBG, utilizes formulas, including the census data, to appropriate a dollar amount per community. And here at Family Promise, these funds have been very critical, especially in the last 5 years, where we've grown from being 100% private funded to now 50% private funded and 50% government funded. Funds have helped that we've been able to secure through these government resources. They help provide security deposits for families, which we all know security deposits can be astronomical, especially if you have bad credit history, no credit history, or an eviction on your record, and you're just trying to get back on your feet after being homeless. We've also seen funding come through the pipeline to support homeless prevention services. Just in the last 4 months of COVID, we've helped families remain housed and increase and decrease their rent debt because of government funds that we were able to secure through the recent coronavirus relief fund. And the funds, the coronavirus relief fund in particular, were administered both to City of Burbank and City of Glendale, where Family Promise is operating out of. And now more than ever, there's an issue with the negative impacts of COVID-19. So those funds did come at perfect timing. Once we found out that both City of Burbank and City of Glendale were given these kind of funds, and again, this goes back to the importance of filling out your census information. Once we found out that those funds were available to both of those communities, we partnered with both cities and applied for the funds. And we quickly were able to utilize those funds to help families and individuals as well remain housed. So again, it goes back to the importance of counting everybody in our community. So as you can see, the need to have our community members accounted for does impact the funding made available to nonprofits, especially those that are applying for these government funds. And we are able to transform the lives of the homeless population because of the census, and we're able to help our community members stay afloat because of COVID. But we can't keep doing this if you don't take the time to take the first step in completing the U.S. Census. So again, the U.S. Census does play quite a bit an important role in local nonprofits. And as John said, it's, make the time to fill out your census application, because know that it's impacting our local nonprofits here in the Verdugo region. Thank you.
Albert and John, this is Edna again, and I just want to thank you both so much, because I think we've got both perspectives of really a full perspective and understanding on the importance. I think we were given some tips on, the email blasts, and those are ways that I think if you're affiliated with an organization or with a volunteer group, perhaps as a community member, you could help get the word out. And more and more of this is just becoming so critical. And working in the nonprofit field, we see on a daily basis, and I know you're nodding your head, yes, Albert, on the needs that just continue to increase day by day. So on that note, I think we're going to go into a little bit of a Q&A, and I will turn the time over to Faith, I guess, and you can moderate that if there are anyone that has a question.
Thank you so much, Edna. And thank you again, John and Albert, for your information regarding the census. At this time, we have no questions, but if you would like to participate and ask a question, you can go ahead and ask that now. We'll give a few moments. Everyone's kind of unmuted here. We have one question actually that just came through, and it's, we'll unmute Albert and John here for a minute. What makes an area hard to count?
Okay. Hello, this is John. Do you want me to answer that question?
Yes, please, John. Thank you.
Okay. Hard to count area. We initially got it. It was determined by the 2010 census. Okay. It was determined by an undercount. Hollywood and the Valley area, which is, of course, the Van Nuys and everything, and including, I'm going to say, Altadena and even Eagle Rock, were determined hard to count because there was an undercount. The 2010 numbers that came through showed a disproportionation. It was disproportionate. They found out that, there were more kids and more people living there than was collected by the census in 2010. So it was labeled to hard to count. Currently, we are keeping track of people doing their census questionnaire now, and it's falling into the same category. There's a low self-response rate in Eagle Rock. There's a low self-response rate in Altadena, in Hollywood, in the Valley. So, we don't want the same problem that happened in 2010. That's why they've extended it. That was based on COVID-19, but we're doing more outreach than we ever did before then in 2010. So there will not be an undercount. Because if there's an undercount again, then, as I said, federal funds are not going to be coming in. It's going to be, a set amount of federal funds based on the population. And when they see that there's more people there and, they need more money for the schools for the kids or this and that, they just can't grant it because it's just based on the number that they had. And, it's a good thing that Albert was talking about the homeless situation. That was another kind of issue, was that there was not a good, head count of the homeless people in the Hollywood area. And as a result of that, money for the homeless shelters didn't come through. So this is why it's, I'm saying it's important.
Thank you for that answer, John. We have another question for John. What sort of safety restrictions will be placed when the census volunteers come by a home to assist? Will there be, related to COVID, will there be masks, gloves?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's required. It's required that they're going to, the census workers will be wearing gloves and they'll be wearing masks. And as I said before, I guess for your own safety, it's like when they knock on the door, they have to show them, they have to show you their Census Bureau, ID. It's going to be, around their neck, and they have to show it to you right there and then. And as I said before, it's your prerogative whether you want to do it with them or not. You can say politely, I'd rather not do it. But, as I mentioned before, another safety thing, if anyone claims to be a, Census Bureau worker, they don't show their ID, and, some people are naive enough, they think they are. But the minute they ask anything about, like I said, a social security number or immigration status, stop it right away. And I'm going to say get their name and report it right away, because that's fraud. They're not allowed to ask those questions. They're not asked about your citizenship status, immigration status, or get your social security number.
Great, thank you for that response, John. We have a couple more minutes for a question answer. And again, we'll be sharing John's information, Dylan. We have Dylan Mack available from the census, who will be our point of contact. If you have any questions for the census, you can follow up either through email or through a phone number that they've provided.
And this is Edna again. I just wanted, while we've got Dylan and John still on the line too, before they start making the home visits, folks still have that opportunity to go online to complete their census. Is that correct, John and Dylan?
Yes, that is correct. They still, like I said, the deadline has been extended to October the 31st. So, you know, you can do it online, you can do it on paper, you know, either way it's fine. So yeah, that's fine. And I think Dylan's on the phone. I mean, do you want me to do a formal introduction of Dylan Mack, or?
Yes, please.
You
go
know,
ahead.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Dylan, yeah, go ahead, Dylan. You want to introduce yourself to the group here?
Oh, hi. I'm Dylan Mack. I'm also a partnership specialist. I'm also a veteran, like John. I was infantry officer when I was in the Army. And I'm a educator normally, and I teach and I work in nonprofits. And I actually live on Shasta Circle North, so a block away from Verdugo. So I'll right on Adams Hill. So very, very familiar. And yeah, I've been doing this, working with John for, I guess, 10 months or so. Trying to just inform really the public. Really, I mean, with COVID, I mean, I'm sorry it came late. I'm sure it's just this virus. It's just, I mean, we've saw areas in Beverly Hills that weren't responding to it. It really just diverted people's attention, rightfully so, but still important.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Well, John, Dylan, and Albert, thank you so much. Edna, do you have any closing remarks as we conclude our webinar?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone who took time to be with us today on the panel, and for those who are with us, you know, on the web, we appreciate that. Again, this will be recorded, so we'll be trying to disseminate this as best we can in our community. But you know, we are so fortunate to have a community wherever you might live, and I think if you're in a situation to just take a few minutes, if you haven't done the census, I did it. It only takes 10 minutes, probably less than that. And if you do have some time and get some tips, you know, that you heard from John, or contact Dylan if you want to perhaps help a local organization maybe get the word out. I think that's something we can all contribute toward ensuring that we will have a quality community moving into the future. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Faith, as our moderator, to close it all down.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day.